If you think the Qira'ats were a problem, wait till you see Dr. Dan Brubaker's work. This is much more damaging. It's earlier, and we're not talking about dots and vowels. We're not talking about the harakat. We're talking about the consonantal text, the actual skeletal text. These were changed, wholesale changes. You don't believe me? Stay tuned.
We've been really focusing our energy in the last few episodes on the Quran itself and the many problems that are found in it. You know, at the top of all of that is the famous interview between Dr. Yasif Qadhi and Mohammad Hijab, and we spend at least 2 episodes unpacking that. Today we're going to introduce yet another character, another factor, another influencer in that field that exposes a lot of the problems that are found in the Quran from an academic standpoint, not from a personal vendetta, not from any other angle, just pure academic work, pure academic research, supported by images from manuscripts, early Quranic manuscripts, and so on and so forth. Of course, we're talking about Dr. Dan Brubaker. And if you haven't heard about Dr. Dan Brubaker, then this is the time for you to get an exposure to who he is and at least a very simple book that he published, part of his dissertation. And that small book created so much damage, you wouldn't even believe it. This is the book right here. And the book, as you can see, the title is called Corrections in Early Quran Manuscripts. The word correction alone should alarm anyone who believes in the perfect preservation of the Quran. With that in mind, let's turn our attention to Dr. Jay. Dr. Jay, welcome back. And I thought you did a good job in asking the logical questions that emanated from that interview between Dr. Yasif Qadhi and Mohammad Hijab. Now we want to introduce yet another damaging factor here.
Yeah, in fact, for those of us who are academics, this is by far the most damaging. For those from a popular standpoint, what Hatun Tash found, that a 5'2" lady, what she found is much more damaging on a popular level because it is visual. You can see it side by side. We showed the different, about 4 different examples of either the fatah or the kasra have been interchanged, how it changes the word, changes the meaning. So from a popular level, anybody can read Arabic, they can see that changes. What we're going to do now is much more of an academic confrontation, and this is why Daniel, in some ways, is even more dangerous. And this is one reason why I think Yasif Qadhi included Daniel Brubaker in his ultra-crepidarian video. Made no sense because Daniel Brubaker
Can you mention more about this video? Because we closed last time by you making reference to that video that
the ultra-crepidarian video was a 90-minute video that Yasif Qadhi did on, actually it was Thanksgiving Day of 2020. He put it up there thinking that it would shut us down, and it was attacking David Wood, mostly attacking me because I'm the one that really has been attacking the Qira'at problem since we introduced it. So I can understand why he was attacking David and myself. But then he spent about 10 minutes attacking Daniel Brubaker, who has not said one word about the Qira'at because Daniel Brubaker's
about the interview. Daniel didn't respond to the interview, didn't say anything about that.
Not a word, and there's no reason to because he's not involved in the Qira'at. If you ask Daniel Brubaker to explain or define, he doesn't know. He won't even know what you're talking about. Well, he'll know what you're talking about, but that's not his area of expertise. He does not concern with the dots and the vowels because those come in the 8th, 9th, and 10th century. His area is in the 7th and 8th century. He goes a step earlier to just the consonantal text.
Because also, if you look at early Quranic manuscripts, it's going to be hard for you to tell which Qira'ah is found in there.
There are no Qira'ats.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the manuscripts. The manuscripts don't have dots or vowels. They have circles. They have red circles.
And things were added later to them.
This is before. This is pre-Qira'at. This is pre-Ahruf. So this is the consonantal text. These are the razm. This is the skeletal text that is made up of about 14 to 16 consonants before the dots were added so that we get the 28 letters that we have today in Arabic. And he's going to these manuscripts. And this is the Topkapi, the Samarkand, the Ma'il, the Petropolitanus, the Huzayni, and the Sana'a manuscript. Those are the 6 major manuscripts. He does another 4 beyond that, including the Tübingen manuscript. So he is talking about other ones. There's even another one from Topkapi and St. Petersburg manuscript. So he's looking at about 10 manuscripts, and he did his doctoral thesis on this. And this is why in 2014, he gave me his doctoral thesis. At that time, he was the first to do this. He was the first to go in the world. He actually went to all of these different cities. He went to every one of these manuscripts. He physically touched almost all of them and opened page by page and took pictures of these consonantal script, looking for any changes between them, any changes with this text, with the consonantal text that we see in the Hafs, the standard book that we use today. And he just took his camera with him, and he got permission to go into these museums, into these libraries in St. Petersburg, also in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, the British Library in London. He went down to the Husseini Library, the Husseini manuscript, which is there in Cairo. And of course, the most famous and probably the most exciting one is the one in Sana'a in Yemen, and then, of course, Samarkand in Uzbekistan. So he just actually physically went, which is what everybody should do, which is what Muslims should have done, but hadn't done. And that's why he decided to do this in 2010 to 2014. Came out with 800, and I had my debate with Dr. Shabir Ali on these 6 manuscripts. I was one that introduced them publicly, but it was Dan's material. So let's go to the slides, and let's see what we're talking about. So there you can see the book on the right. There's Dan Brubaker. He found 800 by 2014. He's now up to 4,000 of these changes. 4,000 what? Well, let's take a look and see what we're talking about. Some of these are insertions, others are erasers, which are somehow overwritten, others are coverings, some overwritten, and others are taping. Let's just look at
Taping is like using a whiteout, technically speaking.
Here you go. Take a look at this. Here's some insertions. You can see words that have been added. Sabah, you can see right there in the middle one has been added above the line. You can see it doesn't belong.
And not only that, people can see it's added, and it's different style of writing.
Yeah, so it's a post-production edition. This is a definite edition that's added to the text. In every case, as we're going to find it, whenever they add a word like this, they are adding it so that it fits now the standard text, the 1924 Hafs text that we're using. Now, here's erasers. Erasers are interesting because you can see this is a censorship. They're erasing something that was there. They don't want you to see it. These are letters. In some cases, you'll see they remove entire words. We'll get to that, some examples of that. He also found where they've erased and they overwrote off top of it. There you can see on the left. There you can see the erasing is not really done that well.
And they used red color. It's very clear.
That's the one in the middle. And the one on the right, you can see the whole word's still there, and they replace it with just 3 letters. An entire word of 7 letters.
Stretched the whole word.
It has been stretched so it would accommodate the space that was left behind. And here you have overwriting without erasure. They don't even care about this. They just wrote over top of it. And if you look at the bottom one, the long one there, that's 2 lines that have been added.
The one at the tops basically are slanted in the elongated image. Basically slanted, but look at the bottom line. It's totally different style.
Totally different style. Yeah. And then he talked about these selective coverings. These, I think, he didn't think that these are the most damaging, but I think these are by far the most damaging. What are we talking about? They're coverings. Can you see on the one on the left, there's a piece of tape, a piece of paper that's been covered over a certain word. On the bottom, you can see a piece of tape that's covered there. Look at the one in the middle. There are 8 different pieces of tape there, 8 different coverings in just one page. And so this is, to me, is absolutely heinous. Then you get coverings where overwritten, where they have a covering, and then they wrote over top of it in a different, as you said earlier, and also with a different style. These are typical of that. And then I'm just going to show one more, and these are the tapings. We'll end with this because these are the 7 different types of corrections. What he noticed, look at the one in the middle. There is a square there that's just covering. He just thought maybe there was a damaged piece of parchment. When he looked at the back of the parchment, there was no damage whatsoever.
It was covered. That's it.
So this is censorship. This censorship needed to be acknowledged. Now, by the time he came up with these, now he's come up to over 4,000 of them that he has personally discovered. Nobody in the world has done what he has done. He is unique in the world to do this. And he's on our team. He's part of Veritas International University. He is one of our scholars who's one of our professors. He teaches the Quran. He'll be doing that in June of this year. And we give him that response because he is so far ahead of everybody else when it comes to the Quran itself.
So what are we going to talk about next time?
What we're going to do is we're going to actually look at some of these. We're going to look at 16 of the examples.
Of these variations
and unpack them. And I want you to look at them because you can read the Arabic, see the difference of how these change the text, why is it that they were done, and obviously is this significant? Because some Muslims will say it doesn't change a thing. Like they did with the Qira'at, it doesn't change a thing. Until you are Arabic speakers, you see how much damage these do.
And I'm going to give my commentary on those classifications, whether it's an erasure, whether it's an insertion, whether it is basically a taping or writing over or whatever the case might be. Here's my take on that. This tells me a number of things. Number one, the process of transmitting the Quran was not really standardized. Somebody did not review it and they discovered it later. Okay, that's number one. That's a damage, by the way, that goes or flies in the face of this perfect preservation. Number two, if you're telling me it was perfectly preserved in memory, there you go. Examples that memory was not on your side and somebody had to come and correct it. Okay. Number three, it tells me that if you're trying to standardize the reading, which reading they gravitated towards, just the most popular one, that means they disagreed with the other reading. But I thought Yasif Qadhi says, hey, it's eclectic. One from here and one from there, Apparently the correctors or those who did these edits did disagree with that concept. So at least at this level, you can see that there is some damaging things that you can conclude just by looking at these manuscripts and realizing things were taped, things were written over, things were changed, words were forgotten and they were inserted, and the list can go on and on and on.
But remember, what is it we're even confronting? We're confronting what not only the Quran says, but what all Muslim scholars have said. Not one letter, not one word has changed because Allah himself has preserved it. Chapter 15, verse 9. That's what we're confronting here. Dan Brubaker is showing not only are there changes, notice every one of these manuscripts are from the 8th and 9th century. Not one of them is from the 7th century. These are much later manuscripts. This is even before the Qira'ats were even invented. This is much earlier. These are the 8th, 9th, up in the 10th century. No wonder they're so damaged, because when you change a letter, not a diacritical mark, not a vowelization, when you take a consonantal text and you change one letter, it changes the meaning. We'll see that next.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. You've heard the man. Until next time, have a blessed day. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, CIRA International, and click on the bell so that you receive notifications whenever we publish a new video or go live. I would also like to appeal to you to consider becoming a Patreon patron by clicking the link right below. By doing so, you can give towards the production of these videos. There are also other options for you where you can give to our channel. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.